Hello snowboarders of the internet, I'm your host Avran LeFeber, and in this video we're going to be reviewing the Capita DOA, which got a new core this year. This board features Capita's Resort V1 profile, which is rocker in the tips, flat section to before the insert pack, then camber through the middle of the board. This is going to give you all the load, snap, pop, and drive of traditional camber, but that flat and rocker in the nose is going to create sweet spots for locking into presses, as well as help with that pop right where the camber comes down to the flat. So when you engage it, you're going to get a little bit more spring. It also helps with ease of entry in and out of turns. This board is available in 148, 150, 152, 154, 156, 158, 160, 162, 164, 153 wide, 155 wide, 157 wide, 159 wide, 161 wide, 163 wide. I rode this board at Copper Mountain on a mostly bluebird day. There was a little bit of clouds in the sky. Average temps with colder gusts. You had ice, perfect corduroy, little leftover pow in spots, some chop and chunder and death cookies for good measure, and I rode it with my Rome black label bindings and my K2 Thraxis boots. So the big story with this board is they changed the core for this year. Supposedly it wasn't going to change the flex, just where it flexed. Yeah, it did, for sure. So what you get is softer tips, and it is noticeably softer than it has been in previous years, and that goes all the way to the middle of the insert packs. So you just have these immense sweet spots that are really easy to press, like super easy. Then it stiffens up slightly through the middle, and there's a lot of torsional flex. This board is noticeably softer than it has been, and you can really feel that, and that affects the stability. Because of that softer flex in the tips, you get more chatter that resonates right back underfoot, so you're really going to feel it. And when you get into rutted out terrain, this board does get bucked around. You really feel like you're getting a workout out of it. It's not as stable as it has previously been. It's still as lively though. So here's the thing with the snap of this board. With it being softer, it's a little more predictable with how you load it. Just feels like you put minimal effort in, you're gonna get solid response out of it. It's not one of those boards where you're like, I gotta put a lot of effort in and then hope that it rebounds. You're like, I put minimal effort in, it's predictable. You'll be able to ollie the slow sign, boost off of a roller, hit that side hit. You don't have to worry about it, you know. You're going to be able to get done what needs to get done. And when you hit jumps, you can be laid back, let the lip throw you, it's going to do its thing. Or you can be a little more calculated, put a little more effort in, and you're just going to get a little more spring, which will boost you a little bit higher and send you out a little bit further on the jump. I do think that small to medium jumps are probably this board's strong suit these days, just with the softer flex in there. If you're trying to hit something bigger, you want to bump up to the Super DOA. It makes more sense that way. As I said, with the core change in this board, it changes the flex pattern. The sweet spot became a lot bigger, and you don't have to be assertive to get this thing into a nose or tail butter. You can pretty much just roll your weight onto the outside of the binding, whether you're on the nose and the tail, and it's gonna engage. Because that sweet spot for presses starts right at the middle of the insert pack and works all the way forward, you end up just having this ability to just sort of lean a little bit more, and you're in the press. Now, if you want to pop and put into it, tone it down a little bit, because if you aggressively press it, you're going to get this board to kick out. And that happens when you're jibbing as well. Because of the softer flex, you don't have to be as assertive. So when you're landing into a nose or tail press and you're setting it down, you just want to slowly roll your weight into it instead of just being like, I'm going to manhandle and flex it. Now, when you go sideways on a feature, that camber section through the middle really does hug it, and you can feel that just lock in right around whatever tube, box, ledge, rail that you're on. You never have to worry about it. This board really does do a good job at jibbing, as long as you're not a super assertive person that really puts a lot of weight and muscle into your presses or your board slides. There's a subtle delay in the edge-to-edge response of this board. You notice that when you go to engage it, it slows you down just a little bit. You're not getting that rapid finger snapping response of just going from edge to edge. It's delayed, and then it locks in, and you feel secure to a point. I mean, if you're really going to crank it, drive your knee into the center of the board, push off the tail, it's going to leave you wanting more. It just does. I mean, that's what it is. But for mellow carves, where you're just sort of cruising from one side of the trail back to the other, or you're in the park and you're just sort of setting up before you go into something, totally fine. It does what you need it to do. It's predictable. it's those harder, more aggressive carves that it leaves you wanting more. Who's this board for? The all-around rider that isn't super aggressive. So I've ridden this board enough to know that this new core feels kind of like a step back with it. Like, it just doesn't have the balance that it used to have. It really does differentiate itself from the Super DOA now. But for anyone that's been a regular DOA fan, I feel like it's a little underwhelming. There's better boards in the Capita lineup like the Indoor Survival, the Outsiders, Super DOA, Mega Mercury. This just sort of feels like a middle-of-the-road product. Like, it's not overwhelming, it's not underwhelming. You're just sort of like, it's a snowboard, it gets the job done. It left me wanting more, and I really liked where the DOA had been going in the past, and now I'm just sort of like, it's a snowboard, not overly excited about it. So that's where it's at with me right now. Comparable boards: the Yes Jackpot, the Rome Agent, the Marhar Dark Side. Binding recommendations: the Union Strata, the Rome Vice, the Ride C6. This has been my review of the Capita DOA. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you own one? Are you going to buy one? Leave me a comment down below. Let's have a conversation about this snowboard. If you're new here, remember to subscribe, click the bell, get those notifications. That way you're not missing any of the videos we got coming out for all you snowboarders of the internet. And if you really like what we're doing over here and you want to support us further as we expand into other projects, swing on over to Angry Snowboarder VIP and become a member. Sure, I could tell you more here, but I got a video over there that explains it so much better. As always, I've been your host, Avran LeFeber, and I'll see you in another video.